Seeing them together made it clear why he held such deep feelings for her. I contemplated quietly from the shadows of the hallway. The soft glow from the room gently lit my face, enabling me to take in the scene without drawing attention to myself. My mother always appeared polished and self-assured, dedicated to her responsibilities, with her hair styled meticulously, cascading in gentle waves over her shoulders, harmonizing with her movements. A young man found himself drawn to the woman beside him, his attention unwavering as he focused on her presence. It is not my intention to suggest that my mother is without virtues or unappealing. Certainly she does, and to a significant degree. Her beauty is undeniable, radiating an effortless grace that captivates all who see it. Her bravery and steadfastness consistently make her a captivating presence to all. However, what really struck me was the way in which she had captivated such a young and pleasant man, so vibrant and full of energy. In that moment, I started to grasp the reason behind their decision to stand before her. My presence in that place was entirely coincidental. I did not plan to notice them. I headed to the kitchen to get a glass of water. However, her laughter caught my attention suddenly. I observed my mother and her partner, noticing the gentle way their hands brush against each other, and the shared glances that seemed to convey a deeper understanding. In that instant, it felt as though the entire world around her vanished entirely. My mother's talent captivated her partner, even though he was younger. I could see that he was deeply affected by the experience and confidence she exuded. Each gesture and every word she chose was carefully crafted to draw her attention, ensuring that her thoughts remained solely on her. Before they could sense my presence or entertain any doubts about being observed, I decided to step back. I felt a mix of warmth and curiosity, as though I had stepped into an unfamiliar space. As I moved quietly down the corridor, I pondered the source of my mother's knowledge. The images I had seen lingered in my mind, disrupting my tranquility. I discovered a new facet of her personality that challenged my previous perceptions. I had not thought about all those aspects. Eventually, I realized that perhaps it was essential for my husband's happiness. Ultimately, I ended up at my mother's home as my husband was in a relationship with someone else, prompting my decision to part ways with him. As those thoughts circulated in my mind, I started to reflect on the decisions I had taken. Rather than searching for my husband to see if that would be effective, I started to think about my mother's partner. The man who had spent just 2 years with me appeared quite appealing. His manner of expression, composed demeanor, and warm smile drew me in completely. For a moment, I questioned whether the trust between us was too much, but I quickly dismissed that thought, shaking my head to clear my mind of any inappropriate notions. What am I thinking about right now? Even though it appeared to be an unconventional notion, I couldn't help but feel a subtle smile emerge at the thought. My curiosity was guiding me along a risky journey, one from which I might not have returned. Upon entering the room, I softly shut the door behind me. The sound of the lock closing resonated softly in the stillness of the night. I collapsed onto the bed, my mind swirling with images and tangled thoughts, accompanied by a warmth that stirred within me. I attempted to sleep, but the recollections of what I saw kept me awake. What type of daughter observed her mother? Even more troubling, what were my thoughts about the man who was with her? I reflected on my thoughts. However, simultaneously, a quiet voice within me offered reassurance, reminding me that he was not my father. If you desire it, do not impose limitations on yourself. Appreciate the moments you can embrace today. The room felt unusually heavy, as if my thoughts were filling the space with their presence. Outside, the branches of the trees swayed gently in the wind, creating a soft murmur that blended with the quickening rhythm of my heart. I attempted to quiet those thoughts, to immerse myself in the depths of the dream, yet the feeling of having crossed a boundary kept me vigilant. As the initial beams of light seeped through the gaps in the curtains, I realized it was time to begin yet another day. My mind was unclear, still enveloped in the shadows of a dream that was slipping away. Yet, a deep sense of determination urged me to rise from my bed. I slipped into the comfortable robe that I kept by my bed, and barefoot I made my way to the kitchen, the heart of traditions in my mother's home. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the room, a scent I once linked to leisurely days, but this time it carried a unique significance. As I walked in, I noticed my mother seated at the table, enjoying breakfast with her new partner, a man who still felt unfamiliar to me. His gaze held an intriguing quality that was hard for me to decipher, a blend of warmth and curiosity. As soon as he laid eyes on me, my mother rose to her feet. With her gentle tone, she inquired about my breakfast preferences, employing that voice I once used to mask unspoken worries. I assured my mother not to be concerned as I would handle the meal preparation. I maintained a calm demeanor as I made my way to the pantry in search of a cup. As I got up, I noticed the young man's gaze upon me, the gentleman with his neatly styled hair and a warm smile. Although his greeting was kind, his eyes lingered on me, observing closely as if each detail piqued his interest. A shiver coursed down my spine, yet I successfully concealed it with a gentle smile. Perhaps I thought it was merely his way of expressing gratitude towards me, or maybe it suggested something more. I was taken aback by how comfortably he inquired about whether I had gotten enough rest. Even though his tone seemed lighthearted, his expression left me feeling unsure. The questioning, which appeared innocuous, lingered in my mind. Would he have been aware of my presence? A subtle shake in my hands caused me to grip the cup more securely. I responded with composure as I turned on the coffee maker, ensuring that my efforts to relax remained discreet. The gentle bubbling of water and the rich aroma of coffee filled the small room, shattering the quiet that lingered after my statement. I settled into my chair across from them, directing my attention to my cup of coffee. However, their eyes remained focused on me, carrying a playful spark that I simply couldn't ignore. Every time I took a sip of coffee, I sensed his gaze weighing on me, altering the experience. My mother, unaware of the increasing tension in the kitchen, rose from the table with her typical composure. She stated with complete composure that it was time to head to work. As her colleague stood up, she walked over to my location. As she approached to say farewell, I felt my body tighten naturally. With a smile meant just for me, she whispered, less than, have a wonderful day, greater than, before leaning over and giving me a kiss on the cheek. However, her movements were anything but straightforward. Her farewell was warm and affectionate, as was typical for her. A gentle touch, almost unnoticed, yet capable of evoking a sense of uncertainty and carefulness within me. In that moment, I responded promptly, feigning unawareness and maintaining a polite smile as I observed him and my mother depart from the house. The sound of the door closing resonated in the stillness that filled the room, leaving me alone with the cup of coffee that now sat cold in my hands. The steady ticking of the clock on the wall was the sole sound that broke the tranquility that filled the kitchen. I focused on keeping myself occupied. I attempted to understand the situation that unfolded, yet uncertainty lingered in my mind. Was that kiss just an error or something more significant? As I stood up to clean my cup, I realized that my heart was racing. The gestures and words of that man appeared to hold a deeper significance that piqued my interest. Throughout the day, the events of that morning blended with each task I undertook, creating a sense of unease in my mind. That day had felt endlessly drawn out, each moment sapping energy as time moved forward. I was in the kitchen, concentrating on preparing dinner, when I heard the familiar sound of the front door opening. Recalling that my stepfather arrived home before my mother, I felt a slight flutter in my heart. I was unsure of the reason, but the thought of being alone with him stirred a mix of unease and excitement within me. I felt a sense of unease regarding my stepfather, struggling to define our relationship. Ultimately, he was the individual selected by my mother to share her life, and it was my duty to prioritize her well being. He entered with purpose, as if the house were a part of him. He set his suitcase and jacket on the table by the entrance, and from that point, he spoke with a warm and confident tone. The scent in this home is truly delightful. I turned to look at him as he confidently approached the kitchen, where I was completing the preparation of the sausage and chorizo tacos. He walked with a gentle yet assured grace, each step on the wooden floor resonating with a quiet confidence that hinted at what lay ahead. As he stirred in the pan, he paused at the kitchen door and inhaled deeply the aroma that had required so much effort to achieve. He asked with a more intimate tone about what he was making in the kitchen. I explained to him clearly what I was preparing, and he inhaled deeply again before exhaling with a sense of contentment. As he approached, he remarked, less than less than less. It has a pleasant scent for some reason, greater than greater than. In his gaze, I noticed a hint of something intriguing and concealed that unsettled me, provoking an unexpected response I wasn't prepared to confront. His gaze lingered momentarily, observing me with a thoughtful expression. Suddenly, he voiced his observation that the person's husband was blind, using a tone that, although soft, carried a clear impact. Less than if you continue to approach things with the same care and attention you give to cooking, I believe everything will turn out wonderfully. Greater than. The intensity of his gaze sent a shiver across my skin, not from fear, but from the unpredictability of what might happen next. I tried to remain composed, but his next words shattered any semblance of calm I had managed to uphold. I have no doubt about your ability in that regard, since your mother does not say a word about it. It seems you departed in a similar manner to her. I felt a mix of frustration and confusion. I responded, attempting to convey indignation, even though I knew my tone was betraying my genuine emotions. Less than, how could you speak to me like that? Greater than, a desire for something concealed and enigmatic began to surface, residing in the deepest part of my essence. He approached a bit nearer. His presence was unsettling, yet I was unsure of how to respond. Less than, with the same courage you demonstrated during your visit yesterday. Greater than, he said with a keen smile, reminiscent of a cat that has just caught its target. Less than, I noticed you, but I decided to let you finish your observation without any interruption. Greater than, what if we consider the opportunity presented by your husband's absence? As anticipated, you comprehend. The proposal presented was put on hold, filled with promises that seemed unlikely to be realized, though I quietly felt the urge to explore further. There was a part of me that desired that, though I chose not to express it so openly. Just as I was about to respond, the door swung open and my mother entered the house with her usual commanding presence. She embraced my stepfather and kissed him warmly, easing the tension that had developed between us. For a moment, I felt like an outsider in my own life, as I reflected on a situation that was not my own. As I finished preparing dinner, the joyful sounds of her laughter and expressions of warmth filled the room. During our dinner, my mother spoke with great enthusiasm, and I made every effort to remain composed, knowing that he would not remain passive. At the beginning of the meal, I felt something brush against my foot under the table, affirming that my perception was accurate. Initially, I perceived it as a stroke of luck, but then that feeling became more pronounced, with increasing clarity and boldness. I found it hard to accept. This individual truly operates with remarkable swiftness. I felt my heart beating intensely as I tried to keep my gaze down, ensuring